Welcome to the Baynet's Countdown to November, a series of interviews with the candidates in the November 4th general election. I'm Dick Myers, and with me today is Bob Schaller, who's a candidate for county commissioner from the 2nd Commissioner District. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background. You're a St. Mary's County boy, right?
I am. I was born and raised in Compton, and what we're most noted for is my dad's store, Don Superette. It's a sort of neighborhood country store that he ran for half his life, 37 years, and we all were raised and had our hand in that store. That's how I got my business knowledge, you know, right at the counter, doing everything in and out of the store, opening it, running it, closing it. And you know, there were 4 of us, an older brother, myself, 2 younger sisters. My older brother's since passed, but we have 2 younger sisters who are still here in the county. And you know, went on to do a lot of things, came back to the county, and now my hat's in to run for elected office.
Why? Why are you running?
Because I want to help make things better. You know, I worked in the county for 5 years as the Director of Economic and Community Development, so I was paid to do this work. I've been out of that for about 2.5 years, and I continue to do that work. Really because of this and because it's needed. And people have told me more and more, Bob, why don't you just do it officially? You know, it's hard doing it on the sidelines and having an impact. So that's what I'm going to do. You know, if the voters are willing.
You have a background in business and economics. You've been a teacher, you've been in business, you were the Director of Economic Development. So do you consider the county's economy to be a major issue in this campaign?
Absolutely. It's probably the number one issue. It's debatable between the education funding, which is an issue we all have to deal with, and then, you know, the economy, especially now, jobs and business creation. I mean, because we need to put people to work or have them work in their fields. We have a lot of folks out there that are either unemployed or underemployed, and you need business creation to absorb that. And right now with our major employer, the federal government, the Navy, turning down the dial slightly, we have to find other ways of job creation. And so I've been working on that. I was working on that when I was in the office at the county government. I've been working on it since. It's not something you do overnight, but that's top priority.
We're getting mixed signals about the future of the economy. I guess that's not unusual when you're trying to predict what's going to happen. There's so many variables, but do you remain optimistic about the future of the economy?
Oh yeah. We are very blessed. I mean, although the dial's turned down a bit, unemployment's higher than it's been in a while, and you know, the federal outlook is still uncertain. We'll take it. I mean, we are very blessed to have this employer, to be in this region. You know, there's many places in the country where they don't have a major employer like we do. But that said, we can't just continue to run up and down 235 every day from say Wildwood to the Base Gate and back and forth. There's got to be other things, not just for job creation, but to diversify not just the economy but the community. I mean, our first industries of agriculture and seafood, wonderful. We're surrounded by water and land that somehow we've not paid as much attention to. So we've got that blessed asset that we can lean on. We know how to do this. We've been doing it for centuries. So if there's a way of bringing that together with this very bright, smart Navy community, I mean, there's great potential going forward. The challenge always is in the details. How do you get it from where it is to where we want to go?
Mm-hmm. Does that mean spending more money in the economic development effort in order to achieve results?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, you know, we'll get right to the issue. People say, you know, taxes, we need to raise taxes. Nobody is going to want to raise taxes in this climate. We have enough funds. What we can do better is provisioning of those funds. And what we need to do is to partner with other community members, the business community, the nonprofit community, the education communities. There's a lot of smart folks out here. And it's not funds that we need, it's other assets, it's in kind, it's this. This is what we're blessed with the most, is knowledge. You know, it's not just about spending money, it's bringing the best knowledge to bear to solve a problem. We've got assets, we've got vacant space out here that can be repurposed to do other things. So we've got, if you will, the ingredients, we just have to find the right recipe. And we've got great partnerships from the state and the federal government. University of Maryland is coming here, that's going to be a good anchor, but it will be a while before we start to see the fruits of that labor. And in the meantime, we can take what we have and reorganize it a bit. And certainly if there's funds, we can use them, but that's not the answer. That shouldn't be certainly the only answer.
You mentioned education. There seems to be a crisis every year at budget time. How do we get over that?
Well, it's unfortunately the budget process, the commissioners are responsible for two things in the end. This commission form of government, passing an annual budget, which takes a year to do, and the second is the hiring and firing of contract employees. The passing of the government budget is a complex matter that deals with schools, public safety, roads, public works, parks and recs, economic development, the whole aging, all of that. The largest part of that, as you know, is the school system. Represents 40%, 40 cents out of a dollar. So it's going to be contentious by the size of it. What I think what we've seen the last couple years is really I don't want to say adversarial, but it's been you pit the Board of Commissioners against the Board of Education. Then you've got the school system, and then you've got ESMIC, the union. So you've got really 3 or 4 disparate players. What I would propose is bringing them together early on, not waiting until the budget process officially starts. And then everybody sort of go to their corners and say, I want this, I want that. But to start July 1, for the next fiscal year. Whoever gets elected to office and sits in that seat come December, January, they'll do their best to get through this budget year. But the next one, we would start anew, working together and trying to figure out what are reasonable goals. What's a reasonable spending pattern? One of the things that concerns me the most, 4 years ago, we had a budget reserve of $12 million in the school system budget. Today, effectively none, $500,000. But we've spent our reserve. We have no leeway should something happen. We need to recapitalize that. At the same time, making sure teachers, have incentive to come back to the classroom. So this is not going to be easy, but I do think working together over the next couple of budget cycles, we can get back on the right path.
At the same time, the county has a fairly healthy surplus, and
right.
The unions, the school unions would say, well, that should be used to help capitalize the school.
That's a fair question. However, the county, 40% of the budget goes to the school system, 60% goes to other things. So the school system is not the only thing the county has to worry about. We have infrastructure here. Physical infrastructure. We have other things that we have to deal with. We've passed on a few issues, the library, the correctional facility. There's been other projects that need attention. So that reserve is there for all of the county needs. I'm not saying that some of it doesn't need to be considered for the school system, but it can't be, that comes first.
Had you been county commissioner, would you have voted for proceeding with the jail expansion and the new library instead of the renovation option?
I would have, again, I honestly didn't follow it day by day to know enough, but I would have definitely considered it more than I saw being considered, because both those projects, both those facilities are in dire need, certainly to renovate, but the sheer growth in the community dictates expansion. We've grown, we're 110,000 people, and all of those things result in other services that are needed, whether they're correctional facilities or libraries. So you have to grow. If you don't grow, we stagnate and atrophy. So from that standpoint, I would have considered it. Now, I need to learn more about it, because I really do think that those decisions may come back, and we better be ready and informed about making decisions on them.
Mm-hmm. I suppose this may come up in the campaign. I haven't heard it so far, but could you tell us about the circumstances that led to your leaving county government? There may be an issue in the campaign.
My departure, March 6, 2012, I had gone before the commissioners that morning with 3 matters. All were, positive, all got approved. It was a very good day for Department of Economic and Community Development. And I was called in shortly after that, after executive session, and I was informed that my contract would be terminated in open session the next week. Completely by surprise. I was given the reason and then also the option to resign. I consulted with, I was shell-shocked. I was not treated with respect. I was asked to leave the back door of that facility. And I had never been fired from anything, 40 years experience. And it all happened. I consulted counsel, and they reminded me that I had great case to fight this. However, I live here, and I was going to stay here. This is my home. So their advice is, you could win the battle and lose the war. They suggested I resign, which I did. And I went through those proceedings. And we agreed in that departure that we would not discuss this in public. As you recall, it got discussed.
Yes, it did.
And it was not always correct, factual, and positive.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you stand by, for the reasons for your being let go, do you stand by your decisions that led up to that?
I do, and I would do it again. We had worked, I was asked by the commissioners to work on a local preference clause in our procurement policy as Economic Development Director to help assist with local businesses. And I'm a big local business advocate. Small businesses is what I do. And so to give them preference, we had worked and we came up with a policy that approved to give a 10% benefit to a local business over a non-local business, if it came right down to it.
Mm-hmm.
If technical qualifications were equal. There was a school system procurement underway and actually was approved, awarded, and I recommended to the then superintendent that, and there was a local business that had a 4% differential in the award, 4% higher than the awardee who was not from the county. And I just said, going forward, this decision's already made about this procurement, but going forward, please consider this policy because the school system frankly purchases a lot more than county government does in general services. Please consider this, and I'll be happy to work with you on this because it helps local business. It's not just about the money you save, it's the local contributions and nonprofits. I mean, it's the investment, it's the emotional investment that local businesses put into the community. And I made a point to say this particular business that had not received the award is a colleague of mine, and I made it very clear, this is not about an individual. This could have been his competitor. This could have been anybody. But please consider this because we're trying to keep the money here. And that email, which was a for your eyes only email, for policy that I helped at the request of the commissioners advance, was the basis for my departure. And so all that aside and behind, we went forward. I was unemployed for 9 months. I ended up, fortunately, finding a job after hundreds and hundreds of resumes. And now I'm happily employed at Florida Institute of Technology as a site director. I continue to do the good work of helping small business and anyone, find their way through, whether it's getting a job or getting started or whatever I can do. And I want to continue to do that.
At least one of the commissioners, and perhaps 2 that were involved in that issue, will be commissioners if you are elected. Can you work with them?
Absolutely. I can work with anyone. I've worked with them before. I look forward to working with whoever sits around the table should I be elected.
Tell our viewers how they can get in touch with you. Do you have a Facebook site,
Sure.
a web page? a place that they can contact you if they'd like to get involved and to volunteer with your campaign?
Sure. Well, you've probably seen our round signs. I mean, I got to tell you, you probably know me by the hat, right? There's a button here. This is a campaign button that our oldest son designed. He's a product of St. Mary's County Public Schools, went to College of Southern Maryland as a graphic artist. Early on said, "Dad, you need an old style I Like Ike campaign button. Red, white, and blue, nothing's more American than an I Like Ike campaign button." So we designed that, we've gone with it, and we've made bigger signs out of it. Okay, so our website is bobschaller2014.com. And we've got a Facebook page you can get to from there, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the social media. But yes, we're looking for volunteers. Mainly, honestly, I'd like folks to vote. I've told my opponent several times, as recently as 4 times this past weekend, I've recognized him, and I've said to him, his wife, his followers, I said, please vote. I said, and one of us is going to win. Whoever wins, the other one has to contribute to that cause. We all are about the same thing. Somebody's going to carry the pail. So please vote. I'd like you to vote for me, but please vote for somebody. The most dismal thing, the most disappointing thing I've seen this campaign is the voter turnout in the primary. Abysmal. We have to get people to the polls. So, bobschaller2014.com.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, because that's why the BayNet is doing this series of interviews, and we hope that you, our listeners, do vote as well. And this concludes the latest update on Countdown to November. I'm Dick Myers.